Due to the method that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure presents itself as having a set of characters for each new part, it's also going to have a new main protagonist that's the central core of that journey. Now, the previous JoJo of an arc prior might make an appearance, but they're not the entire focus, because they've already faced off against their ultimate villain in their life before, like with Joseph and Cars in Part 2. Later in his life, Joseph would lead the Stardust Crusaders in Part 3. But he's not the main JoJo. That role would fall to his grandson, the strong, stoic, Superman-type stand user, Jotaro Kujo, the hero of the Bizarre Adventure.
やれやれだぜ。
Now, why did I give Jotaro that epithet? Well, it's because he is the JoJo that makes the most appearances throughout the entire series. He's the lead in Stardust, an absolute unit of an ally in Diamond is Unbreakable, has his little guest appearance in Vento Arreo, and was the driving factor in Stone Ocean. And if we're being real and taking a look outside of the universe of the series, this man is pretty much the poster child and face for JoJo. For a lot of people, they were exposed to all of the weird shit that happened in Part 3 from the anime, wondered what it was, and checked it out, and hopefully they didn't skip parts, eventually get to Stardust and say to themselves, this is it. This is when the series started becoming iconic for many different reasons. Stands, bizarre shit, the wicked enemies fought along the way, and the craziest fuck tactics and plans used that incorporates all of that. Jotaro fought Enya the Hag, whose stand power is to create illusions so powerful that they can actually harm you, pseudo-zombies, full-on body control from just 1 or 2 hits, and it's practically intangible because it's literal fog and you can't really hit it. And you mean to tell me that he beats it by giving it that Mack Truck Deluxe Super Mad Dumb 3000 Sloppy Toppy Star Platinum suck? Well shit, sign me up for this wild ride. I heard we get the Gold Edition in Part 5. Joking aside, Jotaro is a very prominent and strong character throughout the series. He's almost everywhere as much as he can be. The first real stand user we see in action has one of the more powerful and straightforward stands, has a well-known design, the tall, built teenage body, the gold chain, and hair-infused hat are things that make Jotaro who he is. For his character, he isn't really much of a talker compared to the rest of the Crusaders, or even the other JoJos. A man who definitely lets his actions speak for him, which a good portion of such is him finding a way to punch you 100 times, even though he's possibly a mama's boy. Like, his mom is super cute.
So trusted you.
Okay, one trip to the hospital later from me, he's able to do such things with Star Platinum, the Superman of all stands, as some like to call it, fitting as it usually seems it can do almost anything if Jotaro sets his mind to do so. Now, almost anything. That range of his is of course his weak spot, and then there are some stands that still overpower him quite a bit either from surprise or by sheer raw strength. However, do keep in mind that once Jotaro had full control of Star Platinum's DLC bonus, that being Star Platinum The World, nearly every villain there was feared or did not want to go up against Jotaro. Even people as cold and mathematically calculating as Kira and Pucci wanted nothing to do with that stand. It was either catch him by surprise with a new power or just straight up avoid at all cost. Perfectly reasonable because he could stop time for a few seconds and then hit you with that perfect combo that rivals the nostalgia critic of all people. When he was just a teenager in high school with a not so great attendance record, the last thing he would expect is to go on a bizarre adventure to fight people and practical monsters with abilities that are insane to say the least. But he wasn't alone during those 50 days. That's where the Crusaders themselves come into play. I've already made my video on the group in general, so if you want to hear me gush about them overall, you know what to do. He is the JoJo during Stardust Crusaders. He's the guy who gets all the glory as much as possible. There's trouble of some sort? Don't fear for too long, because Jotaro will probably find a way to win in the end. That's who he is. The guy who comes up and cleans up whatever mess there is, and he'll do it without flinching or taking both of his hands out of his pockets. The Clint Eastwood style. Says less, punches more. Assault, no domestic. All hits, no misses. Sailor. Now, even though I said all of that, and he's pretty fine as the main JoJo in Part 3, surprisingly, he works a lot better as a side character. Jotaro is honestly at his peak in DIU because you see how he's gone from this guy, this kid really, that didn't care too much for a lot of things, which still kind of carries over when he's in his late 20s, but you can tell that he's learned patience and has a sense of maturity to him now. And according to how a timeline works, Jolene would have been born and would have been a child by this point. So not only did he grow as a person, but became a father and settled down within the decade time span between parts. And in terms of power, it's like Jotaro is max level in a video game now. He's reached the point to where he's the broken character in the series that's always nearby and can take care of most of the inconvenient threats. I always say this, and I don't know if anyone else gets the same feeling, but just seeing and hearing the younger and newly introduced characters call others that we've known for some time by Mr. or Mrs. is really great to see, and Mr. Jotaro is a prime candidate to that notion. Joseph was the leader for the Crusaders, and you can tell that he was still Joseph. He's got that playful and wacky side to him, and Jotaro was tagged alongside him. But now it's Jotaro's turn to carry the torch and step up. He's the one to fully take the initiative and to do a lot of things. And given his stern attitude, he doesn't really play around too much, he just gets it done. Like when he simply told Josuke that they were going hunting for potential rat stand users. He didn't even ask him what he was doing that day, he just said, "There's work out there that only we can do and it needs to be done. Now." Though he's not too strict with what he does during his time in Morio. He at least tries to find opportunities for the Morio warriors to try and solve their problems their own way. They can't really learn anything if Jotaro does everything by himself. He teaches both Josuke and Koichi the meaning of responsibility and how to have confidence in themselves to some degree. Like, when the guy who can stop time beats nearly every enemy that crosses him and is indifferent to a lot of things and still says, "You're pretty good," that's how you know you're a fucking champion. Koichi won out big time by the end. He got two irreplaceable things, a yandere girlfriend, Yukako, and Jotaro's respect. You love to see it. Now, even though he's not involved in Stone Ocean the same amount from Part 4, Jotaro still tries to keep his composure during most situations in Part 3, and he's more or less the same guy. But you do see more of his caring side, seeing that most of the foes and biggest threat in Green Dolphin Street Prison wants to kill his own daughter. He's definitely a little bit more protective than what we usually see, especially from the fact that he fought a man who was accelerating all of time itself, and within that absolute life or death moment, Jotaro chose to save Jolene, which you can say ultimately led to Pucci's defeat. When they're not there, the Joestar bloodline finds a way to strike back, that's for sure. Throughout his time as a Joestar, the most reoccurring one in the series, Jotaro ended up being one of my favorite characters from it. Even though I say that for a lot of characters, I really mean it for Jotaro. Seeing him go from this rather crude and brash giant teenager, he pulls out some insane methods to beat his opponents, either by mentally or physically, mostly physically, but then he tones the attitude down a bit in his later years, becoming a lot more of a adult, and to see that is pretty awesome. He may not look to be the most caring, but he'll find a way to show his affection for you, and he's someone you can look up to. Villains fear him, he loves his family, friends look to him. He's the hero of the bizarre adventure. And that is the video on Jotaro Kujo, one of the more prominent members. It's like pretty much the most prominent character in the entire series, so it's like, yeah, why wouldn't I want to do a video on like the man, the myth, the legend that is the Kujo himself. So, yeah, I don't think I really need to say any more about it. You know, I like Jotaro, I like his attitude, it's really cool and everything. Even Araki puts it that way, where like, you know, in comparison to say like Josuke, Jotaro is like someone you can just look up to. He's like the guy, is like, wow, he's so cool. So he's the hero, while Josuke is like, he's a buddy, he's a friend that you can hang out with. You know, he's like the guy next door and stuff. He's just a dude. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. You know what to do with all the links that I provide and everything of the sort. Thank you for watching. That's greatly appreciated, of course. Have a great day, have a great night, and everything else, you know what to do. Bye.
領収書だぜ